Today let's do the topic of copy constructors first. So let's first see what is a copy constructor. As we all know that for every class we make objects, and while making the objects of the class the constructors are called, right? So we have seen that supposing we have a class here called student, and inside this we have int roll number and int marks, right? Now in the public section we make a normal constructor like this, right? Now in this constructor I write roll number is equal to 10 and marks is equal to 67, something like this, right? Now in the main method here, when I make an object of the student class obj1, this constructor is called. Fine. So this is a normal constructor. So if I make one more object, that is student obj2, this constructor will again be called. So both of them, the student obj1 and student obj2, they are going to call this constructor. So two objects will be made like this. Fine. Now let's look at a copy constructor. Supposing I want to initialize an object using another object, right? Supposing I write something like this, student obj3 is equal to obj2, right? Now this statement here, what we are doing is we are creating an object obj3 and initializing the values of the object obj3 with the values which are there in the object obj2, right? So in the memory, supposing I have something like this, this is here, suppose I say this is obj2 and this is obj3, right? So two objects are being made here. This I say is obj2. Now inside obj2, this roll number is equal to 10 and marks is equal to 67, because obj2, when you are making this object obj2 here, right, obj2 is calling this constructor which is initializing roll number is equal to 10 and marks is equal to 67, right? So these values, this go into this obj2, right? Now look at this statement, it says student obj3 is equal to obj2. So this is the object obj3. Now obj3 is equal to obj2 means it is copying the values, which is there in the object obj2, right? So here this is where the copy constructor is called. I am copying one object into another. That is the concept of a copy constructor. So when we do this, obj3 will also get the roll number is equal to 10 and marks is equal to 67, like this, right? Now here this is we have written this student obj3 is equal to obj2 inside the main method. This is just calling the copy constructor. Now we also have to learn how to write the copy constructor. if supposing we don't write a copy constructor, then C++ has a default copy constructor. So even if you don't write a copy constructor and write something like this, the C++ compiler has its own copy constructor, default copy constructor, which will be called automatically, right? Okay, but we can also write our own copy constructor. Now let's see how to write the copy constructors. Okay, now see here, int roll number comma marks. Now here in the public section, again one normal constructor that we had put earlier, and now I'm going to write the copy constructor here. See, student, and inside this I write student ampersand st, something like this, and within this I write roll number is equal to st dot roll number and marks is equal to st dot marks. Now this is the copy constructor which we have made here, right? This is the copy constructor, right? Whenever we write a copy constructor, the copy constructor always takes an object of that particular class as a parameter, right? So here we have written student ampersand st. So this st is an object of this student class, right? Now let's look at this void main method again, where we had created the student s1, I write, right? Okay, this is the first object. So when I say student s1, it is going to call this constructor, this one, fine, and an object is made. Now once this object is made, after that I am going to go for the copy constructor. Now I say student s2 is equal to s1, right? Now in this case this copy constructor will be called, and this s1 which we have written here, this s1 will be passed as this st here, right? So whatever values were there in s1 will be passed to st, and when I say roll number is equal to st dot roll number, it actually means roll number is equal to s1 dot roll number. So since I am making an object student s2, this whole statement, this translates to something like this: s2 dot roll number is equal to s1 dot roll number, right? So that's how it works. Now the same copy constructor can be called like this also: student s3, and within bracket I write s1. This will also do the same thing. Now here s3 will be called, s3 will be created, and this s1 is again passed into this st, right? Fine. So here for the first one it works to s2 dot roll number is equal to s1 dot roll number. When I call the second line here, third line here, student s3 within bracket s1, it the compiler reads this as s3 dot roll number is equal to s1 dot roll number. Same way for marks also, right? So this is how a copy constructor works, and you are supposed to know how to write a copy constructor, that is this part, fine, and how a copy constructor is called, that also should be understood. right? So mostly in your exams you are asked questions on constructors wherein they will leave either this portion, this copy constructor they might not have written, and they will ask you to write the copy constructor, that is only these 4 lines here, or else they would have written the copy constructor and these statements, this statement how to call the copy constructor, they'll be giving blanks over here which you will have to fill in, right? So copy constructor basically is used when we want to create an object, right? When we want to create an object and initialize the values of that particular object with an already existing object, right? So that is the concept of copy constructors. Now we look at the concept of destructors. As we have constructors for constructing a class, the destructors are just the opposite of constructors. They are used for destroying an object, right? So whenever an object goes out of scope, that object is destroyed. So destructors are used to destroy the objects, right? Destructors have the same name as the class name, and they are preceded, and the name, I mean like and the destructor name is preceded by a tilde sign, right? There can be only one destructor in a class. So as in the case of constructor, we can't do as in the case of constructor overloading, we can't do destructor overloading. Destructors can be only one in a class, and they have to be in the public section, and they don't have any return type, right? And they are called automatically by the compiler when the object goes out of scope, right? So it basically deallocates the memory that had been assigned by the constructor, right? So if we want to write a destructor, it will be like this. For the same class student, let's take up, here we have int roll number marks, right? And then I write public, and here this is the constructor we make, right? In the constructor, the task of the constructor is to initialize, and here I say marks is equal to 90, and then the destructor is made like this, a tilde sign then followed by the class name. A destructor cannot take any parameters, right? They can't have any parameters, right? Till student, and here I write cout destroying object and deallocating memory, something like this, so that the user comes to know that the destructor is being invoked and the object is being destroyed. So this is the way to write your destructors. So there can be only one destructor in a class, and you should, I mean, if you don't put any destructors, if you don't make any destructors, the compiler has a default destructor which is automatically invoked. But if we make our own destructor, then the default destructor is taken away by the compiler, and whatever destructor you give, that is used, right? So with that, we come to the end of today's topic on copy constructors and destructors. Thank you.